Welcome to the Fredonia Central School Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. We start every meeting with a pledge to the flag, so please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome a new board member, Sam Ross Johnson. Yes. Is that correct? Okay. So we're very pleased to have Sam's one of our student representatives, and pleased to have you on board tonight at the table, and looking forward to discussion in the future with you. Welcome. So we have a proposed agenda for tonight's meeting with a consent agenda, including all personnel and new business, with the exception of D1. Is there anything that anybody would like pulled out tonight? Consent? Oh, we also have an addendum. And so is there anybody that would like to be pulled out of the consent or the addendum? Yep. So therefore, can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Ms. Borda, a second?
Second.
Was this? This is on. Okay, I heard it over there. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks. So we move right into our first public comment of the night. So I'll read off the details. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual. Concerns and comments during the session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda. We do have a second public comment at the end where you can speak on any item. Does anybody like to address the board tonight? Mr. Beers?
Hi there, Jesse Beer, 63 Newton Street.
Does it involve? It
does. The reason I'm speaking now is because from what I understand, there's going to be some discussion later on about the proposition, so I'd like to speak now on it, so because I think it might affect some of the things you're going to be discussing.
We actually don't have discussion, but we do have it on the agenda, so you're okay, because we're announcing it on Thursday, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, apparently I've gotten to this age now, so really the reason I'm here tonight is having read a few of the more recent articles in the Observer, it seems like they're primarily printing a few things that are more towards the negative side of the propositions that are coming up. I did submit a rebuttal to that. It hasn't been printed yet, but I would like to, just speak to it a little bit tonight, because I think there are some things that have run that were a little misleading, or just they've left some facts out that I think need to be said. After having read the recent Observer's View article covering the upcoming vote on the capital project, I felt the need to respond to shed some light on several items the article conveniently didn't mention. First, the idea of sharing Forestville's auditorium completely misses the point on which the improvements are going to take place should Proposition 2 pass. While Forestville's auditorium is without question a first-class facility, I'm not sure how sharing that venue addresses the need for larger instruction space. Is the Observer suggesting Fredonia starts busing their kids to Forestville for band practice, course, and instrument lessons? Not to mention, having been at Forestville's facility many times to watch my daughter dance there and some of the productions they did there, it's a smaller space. And considering that at Fredonia's auditorium is almost always a sellout, it's almost always a packed house for our concerts and our school musicals, I just don't see how that would make a lot of sense. In terms of sharing sports facilities, it is true both Fredonia State and Dunkirk have been gracious in allowing Fredonia to use their facilities for soccer, but on game days only. Both our football and soccer teams are continually forced to practice day in and day out on fields whose deplorable, very often unsafe, conditions have been very well documented. This also misses the point that practicing on grass fields and then playing on turf puts our teams at an incredible disadvantage. Simply put, playing on different surfaces is like playing different games. The balls move way faster on turf than they do on grass. And from personally watching my daughters play in countless soccer games, you can see that it always takes our teams the better half of the first half to adjust to the speed of the game. Talk to the athletes, they'll tell you. The article also doesn't say anything about the need to improve our softball and baseball fields. Are those teams who've been incredibly successful, with the baseball teams having won multiple state championships in the recent past and the softball teams being current three-peat sectional champions, Just supposed to continue practicing and playing on fields that have been consistently described as the worst in all of Section 6? Now, having been well involved in this process, I can confidently say that the school board and the administrations understands that this is a big ask of the community. Nobody wants to see their taxes go up. Now, with that being said, the district hasn't had a building project in the past 25 years. That's a number that's unheard of. And if the past school boards and administrations would have taken the initiative to upgrade our facilities gradually, we wouldn't be faced with the proposed tax hikes that these propositions come with. The bottom line is if you want nice things for our kids in our community, they cost money. Lastly, let us not forget that over the past 20 years or so, there have been 3 proposed school mergers with Fredonia, 2 with Brockton and 1 with Forestville. All 3 were voted down. When it comes to sharing, it certainly seems like the local communities have already spoken. Now, personally, I can understand why there are people that, don't want to see this passed. For some people, the average $300 that this is going to go, for some people that's a lot of money. But there's other people that I find that it's difficult for me to understand why we have retired administrators who, literally earned millions of dollars from school taxes. Parents and other other members of the community who pulled their kids from our school district, sent them to private schools, sometimes across the country, because our facilities and our programs weren't good enough. And now when we're trying to improve our programs and improve our facilities, you're saying, no, it's going to cost too much when you just spent how many thousands of dollars for your own children? That seems hypocritical to me. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the members of the board who have continually put our students first. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beers. Does anybody else like to address the board tonight?
Andy Bennett, just to represent the other side of Newton Street, 66 Newton Street. Great neighbor, best lawn in the county, I'm telling you. Discussion and conversation are vital to a deeper understanding of each other and the problems that face us. Seek first to understand is perhaps my favorite idiom from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, and it guides me in what I'm about to say. I would like to respond to a recent Observer editorial that Fredonia should consider sending some of our music classes that have grown too large to rehearse in their current classrooms and meet fire code to rehearse in Forestville. There are many logistical hurdles to this suggestion, from scheduling these classes to how instruments would be transported to the fact that Forestville's auditorium is actually smaller than ours and under no circumstances could house the audiences who attend our performances. Now, as a lover of math, I'd also like to highlight the hypothetical financial impacts of this suggestion. Let's pretend for a moment that the Forestville auditorium was large enough to house our groups and that somehow scheduling worked out at both institutions to facilitate these classes. Based on this year's first student bus pricing, it would cost the district roughly $346,636.80 a year to transport just 3 of our ensembles there and back. Over the same 17-year period it will take to pay for the capital project, it would cost the district $3,692,825.60 more to pursue this plan than simply just investing in Proposition 2 and expanding our own music classrooms. I believe deeply in shared services, as I believe our district does, but the proverbial devil is in the details. For me personally, I will be voting yes for all 3 of these propositions. I've seen too many of my students injured on our playing fields to not vote to invest in their health and safety, as well as that of our student musicians. When I think of the future we are trying to build for my daughter, the students I have been honored to serve here, and the other families of this community, to me this project is a vital next step. That being said, I only speak for myself. I fully respect and appreciate the concerns that have been voiced in these meetings and beyond. None of us want our taxes to go up, but I encourage us all to fully consider the possibilities ahead if these proposals fail. The problems they are trying to address will not disappear if these propositions fail. What will we do then? The district is offering our community an opportunity to vote their conscience. For the Board of Education and the administration to not offer any solutions to the problems our students are facing and do their utmost to protect their health and safety would have been a dereliction of their duties. And here they are with a plan that they have formulated over years with public input. I truly appreciate them taking this on no matter what happens next. They have offered the facts to our community in many settings and venues, and now it is our chance as a community to have our voices heard. That's democracy in action. Whether this project passes or fails, we will have to face what happened next together. So I encourage everyone to make a plan to vote this Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anybody else that'd like to address the board tonight?
Hi, Dr. Kristen Garris-Johnson, 24 Birchwood Drive. I just have a couple questions, and obviously I know they're rhetorical, but in listening to and recognizing that we have an eye for regionalization within the state of New York for all school districts, and with the conversations that are in the paper regarding shared services and places with Forestville, I recognize and I assume that Dr. Ziliaks would be working with Dr. John O'Connor of Forestville to ensure liabilities are being met. But my question is, will this proposal, even Prop 1, go far enough to support potential growth in this district with the new advent of a medical facility on the horizon? Will our spaces be able to serve the larger capacity that may be coming to our neighborhoods? Just something to consider, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Garris-Johnson. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the board tonight? No? Okay, well, we'll move on with the agenda then. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from November 10th. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, thank you. A second?
Second.
Ms. Fortman, thank you. Any comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We also have the approval of the minutes of the audit meeting from December 5th. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Marshall, a second?
Brian, second.
Oh, Brian, okay, Mr. Owens, thank you. Did you speak at the same time?
Kind of.
Kind of, okay. All right. Any comments on the audit committee minutes?
Yes, if I could.
Sure.
There is a comment within the pages of the audit committee just showing some concerns. The only thing I would say from this meeting is I would just ask that the board recommend or support having these audit reports done by the 1st of October of every year. And I realize there were some issues, but I think we need to set a deadline moving forward that these will not go beyond October 1st. Thank you.
That's a good point, Mr. Aldridge, so we could put that on our calendar, to remind us, because it's easy to forget, so, okay, thanks for
So that gives, July, August, September, 3 months to get financials completed.
Sure, yep, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, speaking of the audit, tonight's special presentation is our audit report, and here to review the report with us is Laura Napoli from Bagot and Loretta Bagot.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm Laura Napoli from Bagot and Loretta Bagot. We prepare the external audit report for the district, and so that's what I'm here to present tonight. This is going to be a brief presentation because, as you guys just approved the minutes, we did a detailed presentation with the audit committee. On the audit report, if you start on page number 2, it is the actual independent audit report. It shows an unmodified audit opinion on the school district's financial statements, which says that the school's financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. That is the best audit opinion that you can receive on financial statements. The next page that I want to talk about is page number 20. It is the statement of net position. This is the full accrual balance sheet for the district. So the audit presents a couple of sets of financial statements, one full accrual set, one based on fund accounting. Fund accounting is what you normally see in your reports that you receive from John on a regular basis. So we're not going to go over these in detail, just know that there are full accrual financial statements at the front of the report. The next page that we're gonna go through is the the governmental funds balance sheets. The district has 4 major funds. It's general fund, which is the activity of the district.
Which page is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 22. So page 22 is the balance sheet of the governmental funds of the district. You have 4 major funds: the general fund, which is the regular operations of the district; the special aid fund, which is also called the federal funds. It handles federal and state grants; your school lunch fund; and your capital project fund. In the general fund, you can see that your total assets are $6.768 million. Your liabilities are $3 million. So fund balance is $3.69 million. Your unassigned fund balance, which is limited to 4% of your next year's budget, is at 3.25%, so you're within that this year, as you were last year. Also, you have some restricted fund balance there. Those are the reserves of the district. So in the notes and the pages following, it shows the different reserves of the district. So you have a number of reserves that have some money set aside for specific purposes, like a capital reserve. You have a tax cert reserve. You have different reserves for different occasions where the district might need some monies, and so they have those set aside. And then there's $812,000 of assigned fund balance. $750,000 of that is what is used to reduce taxes for the 24-25 school year, and then the remaining balance of that are encumbrances, which are purchases that began in the 23-24 school year that are going to be completed in the 24-25 year. So they go against the 23-24 budget, not the 24-25 budget. The next page that we're going to go through is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. The general fund there has $34 million in revenues and $33 million, almost $34 million in expenditures. You had some big increase in your revenues this year. It went from 34 million, it's 34 million this year, went up from 31 million last year. That's a 9% increase. The largest change to that was because you had increases in your state aid. 9.7% increase in foundation aid, 10.3% in BOCES aid, 6.4% in transportation aid, and 26.7% in building aid. So those increases covered the increase in cost. Your increase in expenditures went up about 5% from last year. So, so it was good that your revenues were able to cover your increase in expenditures. So you ended up the year with $73,000 expenditures in excess of revenues. But you ended up with a good amount of fund balance, but again, it was better than we had maybe anticipated last year. So, the next, do you guys have any questions about your financials for the general fund before I move on? The next thing that we'll talk about is the school spends more than $750,000 in federal funds. So you're required to have what's called a single audit that takes a look at more specific grants, revenues, and expenditures. And on the major program that we had there, we looked at the COVID-19 funds, which are the ARPA funds. They're called ESSER 1, 2, 3, and Gear 1 and 2. You had some funds that were closed last year, but we took a look at those funds, and we had no findings on the major program of the school, so that was good. We did have some suggestions for some improvements in the internal controls for the district that we went over in detail with the audit committee. And I think that's it for me as far as what I wanted to go over with the district. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you think of any questions after we meet, feel free to contact me anytime.
Thank you, Ms. Napoli.
Thank
Any
you.
questions at this point, or? No, thank you.
Thank
for your
you.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
John, thank you.
Yes, thank you, John. Well, speaking of John, now onto the financial reports. So we'll lump the budget, investment, and revenue reports in.
Yep, so we'll kind of do those all together. Really not much change on the expenditure projection side. We're just really getting to the point that we begin to see trends that may or may not affect the budget, because it's through October, end of October. On the revenue side, two major pieces, we got $80,000 worth of lottery aid, which was expected. There's also a book-in for $525,000, which is our contribution to the New York State Teachers Retirement, one of three. There's September, October, and November. And that books in as a revenue and an expense because it's a paper transaction with the state where they give us the money and then charge us back for the expense. Investment report, we're doing good. Treasury note rates have decreased from where they were last year. They're still holding pretty good. We're trying to maximize there because that obviously is a good way to get some additional revenue. So through this report, we're at $28,000 year to date for interest, and you'll see over the next couple months that we're significantly higher than that. And through last week, we were about $114,000 where we had budgeted $50,000. So we're already good there, and that's always good news.
Great. Any questions on the reports? Great. Well, that moves us to the treasurer's report. Could I have a motion to bring this to the table?
So,
Mr. Aldridge, thanks. A second.
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Mr. Forbes.
No issues there, everything else are good.
Nice. So I guess there's no questions from the board on that, right? Okay. Echoing what Mr. Aldridge said, though, a clean audit report, a lot of that's your good work, so thank you for your work on that. Appreciate that. Oh, well, there's a lot of items in consent tonight, but,
did we vote on?
We do need to show the vote for this.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, everything else on personnel and new business, apart from one item, is in consent. So that leaves us the second readings. Oh, yes, you're right. Okay.
Mr. Johnson, before we do that, I believe that the board needs to actually make a motion accepting the audit.
Right, okay. So could I have a motion to accept the audit?
Somebody.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. A second?
Second.
Ms. Ford, thank you. Yeah, I skipped a beat here. So we do have one item here. We have to approve Lippis Mathias, attorneys at law, to serve the school for the 2024-25 school year. Could I have a motion to bring that to the table?
Before that, do we need to vote on the last motion?
Yes.
Wow, I'm really, once I get off track, I'm way off.
We'll help you.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
hold
you.
your hand.
It's okay.
So I need a motion.
It's already been done.
We just need to vote
Yeah,
for
We need
the
to
audit.
vote.
Yeah.
We need to vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're gonna start over with this one also. So we need to approve Lippis Mathias, attorneys at law, to serve the school for the 2024-25 school year. Could I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Mr. Marshall, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Thanks for going slowly with me on that. Dr. Ziliak, anything on this?
Yeah, just real quick, at our reorganizational meeting each July, we approve an attorney for the district. We do a lot of work with Hudson and Russ. They provide great service to us. However, they are a large firm and represent a number of other groups and organizations as well. And every once in a while, it's something that we are engaged in. There is a conflict of interest within their firm of representing different groups that are trying to resolve an issue. So we do have a situation where that is the case, and we could not use Hodgson Russ. So this put us in a position where we needed to reach out and have somebody else assist us. This was on the recommendation of David O'Rourke, our district superintendent, who has good relationships with a variety of people, but he recommended the resolution you see here, and that'll be available to us for the remainder of the school year.
Great. Any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have the second reading tonight of the emergency drills and leaves of absence policies. Could I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Heard everybody. Ms. Gallo and Ms. Warren, thank you. Dr. Simmons.
Not a whole lot to add here. We did touch on these briefly at a prior meeting. You've also seen these in our backup materials. The emergency drill just solidifies some of the timing of our drills and the notification of our drills that's been new this year. So any of the lockdown drills, we've notified families prior. The reason for that is so families can help us reduce concerns, anxiety of students during those days that we do have the drills, especially for our younger students. Sometimes that brings some concerns, and the parents have been great helping us deliver that message to the students that there is no imminent danger on those days, and it's just really about being prepared if something were to happen. In terms of the leave policy, the real adjustment there is some language around expecting mothers, and that puts the district in a position where we need to provide some spaces and some places for a few different things to happen, and we've made all those adjustments currently. So we're in a good place, but that does make it official, and our policies in both of these areas are up to date.
Great. Any questions, comments on the amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Well, that leads us to our second round of public comment. I won't bother reading through the entire paragraph, but is there any other comments tonight that anybody would like to make to the board? All right. Well, moves us into our superintendent's report for tonight. Dr. Zillowitz.
Yeah, a couple things real quick. Again, not trying to belabor the point. First and foremost, we do want to remind everybody of our capital project vote this Thursday from 2 to 9, right here in our high school auditorium. We appreciate everyone who spoke in public session tonight. One of the developments that occurred between our last meeting and now is that we did mail out a 4-page mailer to all the residents as part of the district. It offers a nice summary of the 3 propositions that were referenced tonight, has financial information, some of the benefits that would come with the project, and it also outlines absentee ballots for those people who are interested in that, and also eligible voters. And just a reminder, and I had the pleasure of meeting our government classes today just to talk a little bit about the project, but to also encourage our students who are 18, because you need to be at least 18 years of age, a United States citizen, a district resident for at least 30 days prior to the date of the vote. But we have several students who are eligible to vote, and we're encouraging everybody to come on out, have their voice heard in this process. One question that was asked by Dr. Garris Johnson was about, kind of does this project go far enough? And one of the things that we recognize in this, that this project in its entirety, should it all pass, does not solve all of our problems. But we also recognize that this would be a giant step forward for our district in all these areas, in terms of those maintenance items, in terms of the music suite, in terms of our athletic fields. This would be a great and vast improvement from where we are currently. There'll be some things to work out down the road, and we'll continue to hopefully try to, as Mr. Beers suggested, do things more frequently, smaller chunks along the way moving forward, where hopefully we won't be in a situation where we need a project of this size in the relatively near future. But that's where that lands. There were certainly things that we thought about, talked about, and maybe even hoped would be included in this project. And we just felt like we needed to pare it down to something that, at least in our mind, was feasible for consideration and feasible for our school community, especially if you look at it as a monthly breakdown of, you know, somewhere between $20 and $40 a month when you start to get into some of the financial parts of it. So that's where that landed, and we're excited about the opportunity that's here, and we look forward to having people come in on Thursday. I also wanted to share a little bit and just recognize it here tonight. It's been an interesting few months from an Albany point of view. A little while ago, the governor moved forward with some information about adjusting the foundation aid formula in New York State, which certainly gets people's attention. There was the Rockefeller Institute that got together to study how our foundation aid formula is currently calculated and how long that's been in place. It's been a while, and if that needs to be updated, that's certainly something that could be considered, and they put together some recommendations around that were released recently. Rather than get into that and sort of worry about what may or may not be, the NISBA and NISCUS are hosting some webinars over the next month or so to give people a little bit more information. In the case that some of these things actually become part of the budget for next school year. Interestingly enough, the governor has now softened her thought about pursuing this with the same kind of energy or enthusiasm that it sounded like she was willing to do a few months ago. So it's been interesting to follow this along. Certainly any adjustment in foundation aid would really need to be carefully considered. That would impact almost all of the over 700 school districts in New York State. I would imagine that nothing will happen too quickly or too dramatically of a change, but you never know what might happen. So we just want to recognize here tonight that we're aware of this report, we're aware of some of the recommendations, we're processing what that could mean to school districts. We'll be participating in some of these webinars, and then we'll have more information early in the new year when we get a better sense of what actually might happen and what seems to be possible at that point in time. Two other pieces. One is, and I just have a quick information for our board here tonight regarding our monthly attendance. One of the things that we had talked about last school year was a concern about attendance and how we might be able to do better and encourage more and more students to be here on a more regular basis. Now, one of the things that I'm doing is learning more myself. I've been working with BOCES to understand attendance data in general a little bit better. And this is just a start. And one of the things that is a pretty common measure is just the attendance percentage, which is out of all the periods that students could attend in a given month, what percent were actually attended. And you probably remember last month we talked about September 23 versus September 2024. And except for one anomaly in Wheelock where the percentage was very low because of the beginning of their school year with some of their home visits and whatnot, all of our buildings, elementary, 94% in both of those months, middle school 96, 95, and high school right around 90, 92. If you look at the information here, this also then tracks the next 2 months, October of this year versus October last year, and November of this year as opposed to November of last year. And you begin to see a slight decrease in some areas. You can see that we've included The difference, so for Wheelock, it's a -1% and a -0.13%. For the elementary, it's a -0.02, and then in November, almost 1%. For the middle school, -1% in October, but -2.24 in November. And for the high school, a -0.92 and a -0.20. You also see here that we included the attendance percentage for the remaining months from last school year, and we'll be filling these in as we go. The thing that we're trying to understand at a little bit deeper level, and Mr. Paschke is going to share some information that he started to share at our last board meeting, of beyond these larger percentages, what are we noticing, what are we seeing as trends, and how can we adjust and adapt short-term and long-term to encourage more and more students to be here more frequently. So this is definitely a work in progress. These percentages tonight give us some sense of where we are, but there is more work to be done and more information that will come to the board over the course of this school year. Now, Mr. Paschke did an interesting thing, started last meeting where at the end of the first quarter, there's another round of class meetings. And for the freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors, he was sharing some information. I think it was Mr. Johnston who asked for that in print. I do have copies here for everybody. And I was hoping, Mr. Paschke, you could summarize some of those results for us.
Sure. Wait till everybody gets it, and then take a look at it.
And it's a front and back.
So the actual front should say freshmen, and in bold, Fredonia High School attendance data from quarter one at the top. Just running through the freshmen quickly, there's 107 students in the freshman class. The unweighted class average is 85 for the first quarter for the freshmen. So that's not boosted up in any way, that's just straight average for all of their courses without adding anything to them for harder courses, etc. They averaged 2.4 days absent for the quarter, and the remarkable piece, and this really holds true for all of the classes, the studies that we've done with Harvard a few years ago, we spent several years working on some attendance studies, and they showed that chronically absent students that are missing more than 10% of the school days are suffering significantly in terms of what they're learning and what their grades are. And this really panned out. If you look at our freshmen, for students with no absences, their average was 92. For students with between 1 and 4 absences, their average for the first quarter was 87. For students who were chronically absent, meaning in this case 10% was more than 4 days for the quarter, the average of those students was 71. So 16 points lower than the previous group, which I think is very significant. I did the same thing for tardies. We have a cutoff for tardies as well. For each semester, we allow the kids to have 3 tardies, kind of free. And then after the third tardy, they start getting detentions for coming in late. And that cutoff point is purposeful because, as you can see again, that with tardies, if you have 0, 1, 2, or 3 days tardy, the averages for those kids were between 89 and 92. As soon as you get more than 3 days tardy, students with 4 or more days tardy, the average for those students was 76. So again, significantly lower. And so I have the same data for the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors are on the back. And it's relatively similar. I think that our sophomores and our seniors led with the largest average of daily absences at 3.7 and 3.8 for the quarter, which were larger than the other 2 classes, but the similar results with respect to the breakdown of how many days they had absent and how many tardies they had. I don't know if there's any questions about any of those things.
So you're a math genius, and as far as statistics is concerned, can you point that this is cause and effect, or is it just that your better students are more apt because of whatever is within them, that they just show up more often. And it's the students who are poor, who are not doing as well, are not engaged as well. And it may not be because of, it is, what's implied here is
Sure.
that it's cause and effect, but it's more something deeper.
I would say that it has to be something deeper. I mean, it's really hard to put all of your eggs in that one basket and say that it's totally the fact that they're here or not here. There are certainly other factors. I think it's important to take time to dig into this even deeper and look at the subgroups of, you know, the financial status of families, the students with disabilities. You know, there are a lot of other factors that play into it. But I think that it is relevant that students who aren't coming to school, I think part of the reason that their grades are lower is that over time, if you follow these kids all the way back to elementary school, students who struggle as they go through school or miss days as they go through school, that kind of snowballs, if you will, over time. And as you start to get larger gaps because you haven't been in school, you get more frustrated, clearly. And I think that frustration level builds and builds and builds. And obviously, we're furthest down the line in the high school. And so if you're coming to school every day and you're feeling that maybe your peers are better prepared and they understand what's going on, and you're sitting there not feeling that, you know, it kicks in anxiety and avoidance and those types of things that I think causes our kids not to come to school. So just saying if you don't come to school 5 days, that means you're going to get a 70. I don't think that's what we're saying. I'm saying that, you know, I think there's a bigger picture here that we need to look at early on. How do we get kids to how do we fill in the gaps better and get kids back up to a place where they have more confidence in school? And then I don't think we would see the disparity that we see now with the larger number of kids. Like, and it's the kids that are struggling that aren't coming. But I think the reason that they're not coming is because they don't feel that they can really perform as well as their peers.
So I'm not saying that showing up at school isn't important. I
Yep.
fully in belief of that.
Yep.
But I'm just wondering what else is deeper than this. That's
Yeah, there's a lot. And we certainly have students who attend every single day and have bad grades. We certainly have students who have missed 30 days who might have straight A's. Okay, so it's not foolproof by any stretch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But yeah, I think there's a deeper thing there.
Thank you.
Yep.
I know this has been a lot of work, and I want to thank everyone in the district that has been part of it, because I know it's something that we've been pushing for and asking, and that it seems sometimes an easy ask to say, what's our attendance, and then once you get into it, it really does turn into something that takes more time and management, but there's something there, there's some correlation, even if it's not cause and effect, right? And it's an opportunity for us to get a better understanding and then take it to that next level. So I appreciate the effort and time, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, something interesting here, I don't, maybe one of you mentioned it, but it's kind of what I suspected, and that is there's a slide in every building from September to October to November. And, you know, I wonder if that continues to slide throughout the year or what we'll see. But, you know, stellar results in September, but now we're sliding in October and more so in November. So it'll be interesting to see the data as we move along. So, yeah. Any other questions at all? Board on this? Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate this, and, you know, without the data, we can't have solutions.
Sure.
So,
If I might just interject one more thing, you know, I think that the resilience of our students and their grit, those are things that are important to be working on as well, because when things get tough, I think that we, in the past, maybe have had students that were more willing prior to COVID to stick with things. And I feel like there's been a definite decline in that since COVID, that when something gets hard, it becomes that avoidance, and I don't want to try as hard anymore. whereas it didn't used to be that prevalent. And again, I don't have the data to back that up, just anecdotally, what I'm seeing with our students, where we're working with kids on a daily basis, where they don't want to work anymore. It's like, I'm done, I just don't want to do it.
Well, thank you again. Thanks.
Well,
One last thing, we have a familiar face in the crowd tonight, and although in consent, and I know we need to make an adjustment in our minutes to your start date, which we can take care of if you're that way, but just wanted to welcome and say welcome back to Megan Ferguson, who's here with us tonight. She had been in the district prior, took some employment elsewhere, but has returned to us, so we're happy to have you on board. Anything you want to share with the group tonight, Meg?
I am so glad to be home.
thank you. It's nice.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We appreciate you attending tonight. Never a requirement, but it's nice when people are able to be here and put names back with faces.
Yeah, I just found out earlier today that I was back, that I was on for the board meeting, and I said, I'm going.
Nice.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good to have you back, and we'll see you officially after the break. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
that's all I have.
Okay. So there's two announcements for tonight. The first is a reminder, the public vote for the 2020 capital project will be this Thursday on December 12th from 2 to 9 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. And also, it's the end of the year, so the next regular Board of Education meeting will be on Tuesday, January 7th at 6 p.m. Any other comments from the board tonight? I do understand we had a Chautauqua County School Boards Association meeting that several of you attended. Anything come out of that meeting?
Yes, I think actually we had Ms. Hahn, Ms. Scullo, and Mr. Aldrich, we were all there. It was
And Dr. Z.
Oh, and Dr. Z was there as well, sorry. I thought it was a great event. It was at the Comedy Center, and it was a great opportunity to connect with board members from across the county, see the wonderful venue that we have over in Jamestown that many of our students have already had field trips to, and they do a really nice tour and program. So I thought it was a nice opportunity to connect.
Very nice.
Great. Yeah, and thanks for those attending. We have a strong presence this year at these meetings, so it's nice to see. Any other comments?
Yeah, if I could, I'm gonna steal Mr. Paskey's thunder here, but we are in the presence of, I'll say, the diving queen, and that we have our state champion diver in the 1 meter diving here with us, Elizabeth Tucci Schaefer. I am personally very proud. Many of us have followed your career. You've done a phenomenal job. And you went out on top this year, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes. It's another reason for me to support the Nittany Alliance.
Oh, yeah.
So that's great. Thank you for that. Mr. Paskey, anything else tonight?
Yeah, I'm not going to steal Mrs. Farrow's thunder with the polar plunge too much, but had a great polar plunge. Unfortunately, I was sick all week last week, so I didn't get to go up and enjoy the cold, windy, snowy, horrible conditions. So, but I love it. So I'm sad that I didn't get to go, but I'll leave that for her to talk about. But great thing. We're getting close to midterm time. Our schedule's coming out. We've got a lot of holiday stuff coming up. Our concerts are obviously, I feel like every night for the next 2 weeks we have a concert. And I think I just want to leave it there. Thank you for all of the work towards the budget, or towards the vote. I guess I do have a question, and what happens if we have this really bad weather? Is there any?
We have a couple options. Part of that is a conversation tomorrow with, so Chautauqua County Board of Elections is overseeing this, so we would need to make sure that in terms of the use of their equipment and the volunteers are still available, but we would basically be looking to do it at the next available date that would be absolutely safe and no issues. For example, it looks like Thursday and Friday may be in question. So we're not gonna jump the gun too quick, but we're monitoring and we'll make the adjustments as necessary. So,
I had a couple questions about that, and I had no answer. I didn't know. Thank you.
With lake effect, there's no safe date.
No,
So you can pick any date and it could come.
thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah. Yesterday we continued our work with Leader in Me, and we had our Leader in Me coach come and work with our team leaders at the elementary level. And one of the things that we reviewed was a survey that our older students took about their perceptions of the school building. And the thing that we were the highest in the district was our students' perception of their connection to their teachers. So I think that's like at the heart of an elementary school. So in short, the students feel safe, loved, and secure when they come to school. So that's like a big win for our teachers. So that was backed by data, so we like to see that. And then today, our first and second graders went to the college to see Frosty, run a version of Frosty the Snowman, and I received a call from a gentleman, Dan, he's the director of making this happen, and he complimented our students and how well behaved they were, and that was kind of out of the blue, and I never received a phone call like that. And he said there are many districts that attend these events, and we always put Fredonia front and center because they are the models for the other districts, and that really melted my heart. So that was kind of cool. So I was like, whoa, thank you for coming. So that's all I had for you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. And Sam, probably nothing too much tonight, but in the future, you're the student voice, so we'll look forward to hearing your take from the students. So, thanks again. Ms. Farrell.
I guess a little more information about the PowerPoint. There were, I believe, I'm just gonna say around 50 students, it was high 40s, that participated. It was on Beach State Park, and I was not there either, unfortunately, but I understand Dr. Ziliak was there, and it was very cold and windy, probably the worst event in terms of weather, but the best for our district in terms of our representation. And our kids raised. Oh, there you go, sorry. Not mention you either. But I understand our kids, they raised a record over $10,000 for our district, so that was pretty amazing. So thanks to everyone that participated, supported, and donated. We're gearing up for Unified Bowling season, which will start after, in January, and our elementary kids put on a Thanksgiving Friendsgiving feast the week of Thanksgiving and invited lots and lots of us to attend. And I guess in regards to that, there are countless academic and social lessons that played out for that. It was really awesome, and it was really good food. And in our classrooms, I'm really just observing a lot of great instruction, a lot of great therapy, and a lot of problem solving in the moment that occurs. So just lots of good stuff.
Right. Yeah, thanks again for the polar plunge. That's a great event.
Yeah, it's cool.
Doctor, does he dip his toe in, or is he?
I didn't either. So I actually had snow pants on for some of these kids out here that were in shorts, actually. So.
Don't let him off the hook.
No, I think this is the fourth one I've attended, and this one definitely brought some velocity in terms of the wind. So,
Did you get out of the car?
I did. I was on the beach.
Okay.
And I do just want to say, I'll give them props. Two state troopers lead the kids out with a torch. And they were just in their uniforms, no coat, no anything, but both of them got in and did the plunge. And then immediately ran back towards the tent. But they participated. I wasn't expecting that, and that was pretty impressive.
I think you could double your donations if next year. Work on it.
Mr. Johnston, just one more. I did want to recognize Leah Marsh is also in the back row there. Great job, and we'll look forward to what's next as well.
Yeah, I was actually, I kept trying to get Luca to move because I couldn't see, but I thought that was you back there. I saw you trying to hide back there. One more thing I did want to, just so that the board members know, Laura Napoli did a nice summary, but you should know we did have about like a 90-minute audit meeting to go over that this full report, just so that you know it wasn't that brief. And she did give us a few things that we do need to address, so maybe that'll be discussion another time. But I just didn't want that to get lost in the, because she gave, you know, definitely gave us a good review, but there were a few things that she wanted
Few
us to.
items to address. Yeah, I saw that in the report, so,
Yeah.
right, small items, but
Very
items,
small
items
items,
still.
but, yep,
Items
I
still.
just didn't want to.
Yeah, thanks for that,
Imagine that.
thank you. Ms. Wright, anything tonight, or?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to all of our certificated staff, administrators, teachers, nurses, teaching assistants. New York State, in one of its mandates, is updated child abuse identification and reporting. And that was an update that was mandated for everybody in New York State schools. And our partners at Erie 2, BOCES, provided the online asynchronous training module, and that had to be done by everybody in the district. We afforded time, everybody that has a certificate had to do that update. And so we did allow for the 45 minutes of the recent half day at the end of November, November 26th. Along with, you know, that module was open for people to do that, and that is a huge compliance issue. And one thing, you know, it's one of those hard things that we don't realize that happens behind the scenes are more and more and more and more mandates that go, you know, that have to get done within the school year, have to get done on top of everything else we already do. And so I just want to say a thank you, because everybody did it with compliance, everybody, you know, made sure it was done. All the building administrators have, you know, saw the list and checked it twice, so we make sure, because this actually gets uploaded by BOCES into the New York State Teach system. The local education agency, we can't go into the Teach system, so in order to keep your certificate, you have to complete this update. It's a big deal. So it was one of those, you know, things that, you know, coming up, and we're trying to find the right time to do it and not confuse it with the other child abuse mandate, which was the training we all did together. Those mandates came down together in July, and so it's been confusing of what is what. So I just want to say a shout out, because as more and more and more is on our plates, you know, it's one of those things that sometimes you don't hear the thank you for those things. So I just wanted to publicly say thanks to everybody and to the administrators for helping us get that lift taken care of. And I also wanted to share, you know, in our district plan, literacy and curriculum is one of our goals and one of the things we're working on. And so Erie 2 has been working hard to provide science of reading training. And one of the things they're doing is this really neat consortium where they have experts coming and speakers, and districts could send representatives. So we could have up to two, possibly 3 teachers. I did a little begging, and so we have 3 because we had interested parties. So huge thank you to Erin Henry, middle school teacher, Sarah Jastrab, elementary special ed teacher, and April Powers, first grade teacher, who are all attending those on their own time in the evening, once a month, with Andrea Marsh, our middle school assistant principal. So we have an administrative representation, so that's been really wonderful to have them, and they've said they've been so fruitful. And in fact, after the first one, they took a little team selfie and sent it, and they were like, our super, you know, science of reading team. So it's really neat for them to also have those cross grade level and curricular conversations along with having that representation. So there's, you know, with curriculum, a lot of that goes on behind the scenes. And as we're trying to reach some of those district goals, we have our HMH literacy pilot going on in grades K through 4. We're in year 2. We had year 1 was our pilot infusion year, and we're now in full year 2 implementation of Envision math program, which is grades 1 through 8. So that's been successful. As the New York State learning standards have changed or morphed and increased, you know, our science teachers have done a tremendous job with the huge lift that is going on with that. There's been modifications to algebra exams and different history exams, and this is all happening in real time while also, you know, teaching and trying to work. So it's just a big lift for everybody, Leader in Me, as we talked about, and we do have a cohort of STEM, and we've been working toward those goals, and we spent the first half of that half PD day together as a STEM team with administrators and teachers K-12, science, technology, engineering, and math, as we continue to work toward those goals, and then had that second half of the day for those other curricular things. So thank you to the board for supporting those additional half days. They're critical to the work we have to get done, to the mandates that get done. They allow us to then present the best to our students, so just thank you for that. And to everybody's working on the capital project, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Thanks for the update.
Sure.
Mr. Morgan, anything else?
Nothing.
No? Ms. Morrison? You're good? Okay.
Hey, real quick, you might have noticed Ms. Paul Hamus was here earlier. She went down to the concert and did an opening message and wanted to greet parents as they were coming in tonight. But she did share with what Mr. Jollinger said, the middle school participated also in a day of leader in me training with some of the instructional leaders. That was today, seemed to be very positive. They are also already preparing for the 3-8 assessments that will happen in the fall. We're transitioning to full computer-based testing, so that takes a little bit of planning with technology. So that is in the works. And lastly, the day before break, a week from this coming Thursday, they have a pride assembly that really celebrates all the good behavior, all the good attitude, all the good energy that the students have been sharing this school year, and take a moment to really focus and celebrate on what's good and all the good things that have happened at the middle school this school year. I think that's similar to all the buildings across the board. I think the school year has had a really nice energy to it. Thank you to the students for that, and also our faculty, staff, administration board. I feel like we're all really trying to stay positive and be productive and really have a successful school year. And I think in this moment, we're in a really good place.
Thanks. That brings us to the end of our regular meeting. We do need to move into executive tonight to discuss matters dealing with personnel. So thank you all for attending. Students in the back, feel free to have any of us up here sign your forms. Drive safe tonight. Is that a motion to enter executive?
Everybody.